Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I'm pleased to present Sarah Mitchell, head of our documentation department. Today, Sarah will be talking about file storage and uploading files and other good things, but she's also here to answer your questions. So if you do have questions, go ahead and type those questions into the GoToWebinar control panel. All right, let's get started. Hello, Sarah. Are you there?
I'm definitely here.
Definitely there. Fantastic. Let me go ahead and make you the presenter. Nope, you already are.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that.
I have to get up pretty early in the morning to beat you here.
And I think you can see
There
my
we go.
screen now.
And I can see your screen. Yep.
Yeah, so last week we ended with a demo that didn't end so great, and I wasn't going to let it go, and I wanted to finish up showing you guys how to use storage connections with lists. And also go deeper into how you would use Xbasic and some of our user-defined file upload stuff with storage connections. So we're just going to go straight into the live demo today. But right after, I remind everyone that DevCon is coming. So register if you haven't. And then as a reminder for what storages are, they are a storage connection in Alpha Anywhere just describes how to connect to a service or a server or a location on your self-hosted server for Alpha Anywhere where you upload files and you can save them. And we have several integrations available. And then the big point here is disk is not supported on Alpha Cloud, so do keep that in mind. So yeah, we're gonna go take a look at lists today. So those of you who joined us last week might remember seeing this component. There were a few things I wanted to show, and I just couldn't remember what I wanted to say, so I apologize. But what we want to take a look at here is this. We have this thing called image capture for list detail view, and somebody did correctly point out last week, and it just didn't register in my mind. This only works on a mobile app, so my test was doomed to fail from the beginning when I tried to show it in the application here. But what I wanted to show here is this image capture action is a very easy way to configure photo capture in your mobile apps. And when you pick this PhoneGap preferred and I believe also PhoneGap, it shows this upload target settings here, wherein you can configure it to store your files to S3. And these settings here are also available in the list itself. So if we cancel out of here because I don't want to change anything, we go take a look at our list. Which will take a moment to open. So this list is going against a test database I created in with an Alpha Cloud test database. And in it, it's a table. It's called photos. It's got 3 fields: ID, description, and file name. That's all we're populating this list with. File name is configured as an image. There's some info in here about image capture storage properties. This is just the system default. But if you go over to detail view, which you only get if you've enabled has detail view on list properties, down at the bottom, there's this media and other linked files, PhoneGap applications only. These are the settings I was trying to find last week. I just couldn't remember they were here. But this is where you can configure where your files are uploaded. So they can go to S3 or they can go to the application server. Excuse me. So if you pick S3, you can use that storage connection string, which we showed how to create last week. And there's a whole bunch of other settings in here you can configure, including showing a progress upload while files are uploaded, a bunch of error capturing, as well as the name of the folder that you want to store those files on the mobile device when they're downloaded and saved locally so the user can access them offline, as well as some other things, whether or not to delete unreferenced files in those folders. And then also there's this thing called ignore media files in the www subfolder. All that does is if you check that, it doesn't download files stored in your application published directory that may be stored in other folders that aren't immediately referenced by your list, which may or may not be important. If you've published a subfolder full of a bunch of like videos or large files, you may not want to download those automatically, so you could turn that off. And then the layout on this is just a basic file name and description. The file name is actually the image. And then I think if we preview this, there shouldn't be anything in it, so it's not going to give us anything. So yeah, it's totally blank. I don't have any data in the database right now, which is why that's blank. Anyway, what I've done is I've published this app to alpha launch, and I need to reset my mirroring here real quick so I can show you. And I might need to restart my mirroring app. Sometimes when it disconnects, it doesn't want to reconnect. Hey, I got it. I got it to work. There we go. Okay, so the app I've added is this. It's this image capture with S3. And I think I might need to relaunch this. Or not. We'll just add some new image here. So I'll take a picture of my dirty keyboard. So there's our photo. And what this is doing is it's just storing the file locally on the device file system while I work with it. And I don't have auto increment set up on my database, which is why I'm entering my ID like that. I click my save button down here and go back and synchronize. Give it a moment. There we go. Oh, pardon my errors. All right. What we've added is this bottom photo here, and if I come over into my bucket and reload this, we now have this file here. If we go take a look at that, that's that picture I took. So loading errors aside, that's how the list image capture works. And the only reason that we're seeing some errors is because I was messing with the database for those other two records. But that's all that's really needed for setup with this list, is to configure those media file settings on the detail view for your mobile app to use your storage connection, and then adding that action and telling it to use the PhoneGap preferred for mobile upload. The HTML5 option doesn't give you those options, so it's not going to work in that case. And this is strictly a mobile app only action. You can't use it for a web-based app. You'll have to do something different, which I just wanted to briefly talk through. I'm sure some of you are wondering, how do I do that? And the way you do image capture with a list in a mobile app, not a mobile app, in a web app right now, is using that other action we took a look at, which is file upload Amazon S3 storage or Alpha Anywhere server. So what you would need to do for a web app that had a list is use this action to do the image capture. And then you could filter the file types here, like using the images that you want to keep. Save that into your list, and note that when this action fires, it's going to do the upload immediately. So what you'll probably want to do is automatically save your record back to your list at that point, just to make sure that data has been stored. And the one other piece that you'll have to do is after the upload completes, you'll need to get that URL for your image somehow. An important thing to know about S3 is that URL up here is going to be dependent on the bucket location where your files are stored. And if that changes, then there's some extra work you have to do here. And I did bring this up with the development team earlier this week because that seems like an unfriendly step. So in the next couple of days, possibly the next week, they're going to be working on adding some additional upload for use with S3 that'll handle that for you in the web application scenario. So that's kind of exciting to see that change. So that's the end of those demos I showed last week. A third thing I wanted to get to, which I wasn't really going to have time to do last week, but we do have time to do this week, and it's what I want to cover this week, is the storage functions themselves. These are Xbasic functions you can call in server-side scripts, and they do things like bulk upload files to your storage. You can delete things from your storage. You can download the items as a blob data or file data. You can inspect what's in your storage, get some properties about those items, and then save information into the storage. So one of the easiest ways to learn how to use Xbasic functions if you've never used them before, or if you just want to play around, is in Alpha Anywhere we have, you can over here, you can filter on the side, we have a thing called an Xbasic script. And what an Xbasic script is a file that you write a bunch of Xbasic in that you can run that is only saved in your workspace and is never published to the server. And the intention of these scripts is to give you a way to write tests or little routines that you might want to run locally without having to worry about them getting up on the server. Things that you could use for unit testing. Maybe you've written a function library for Xbasic or an Xbasic class that you want to use in your application, and you want a way to test that everything you've put together is correct. A script is a good way to do that. Scripts are also a great way to experiment with things that you haven't used before without needing to publish anything to, without needing to publish anything to your server, or even to have a server available in some cases. So I just wanted to take a look at a few of these examples in here. Let's take a look at list items here first. And I am going to use some Xbasic functions in here that work in the developer environment but will not work up on the server, and I'll point those out as I use them. So this function, list items, I've found to be very useful in scenarios where I'm trying to figure out if a file has been uploaded somewhere and I know the file name, but I'm not sure if it's up on the server, or maybe I think I know the file name, but I'm missing some piece of it. So list items has an ability to do things like search, and then also pull down additional information about those objects that have been uploaded. And it takes a connection string, which is your storage connection string. So in this one, let's take a look at this. We'll use our Amazon S3, which we've already previously defined. And we're just going to ignore these two options here at the end because we don't need them. So we'll take out properties there. We'll just run this and then do a show var. And what this will do is it'll get a list of all the items that are up in our bucket, which right now is just this file here with this long auto-generated name for us. So I run this script, I should see that file name, which I do, which is great. So let's go over here to upload file, which I have previously published up here, and I'm going to upload some images. Look in here. In downloads, nothing in downloads. Get a secret insight into my, here, let's use these ones. Let's upload these guys. So I'm going to upload that menu. And then I'm going to upload the other two right next to it. We'll upload this radio button and switch. There we go. So now if we go check our bucket, we'll see those in there. They are menu, radio, and switch. Now, when these were uploaded, they used the file names of the image because we were using that file upload to Amazon S3 or Alpha Anywhere server action. In the case of the list, because we do some magic on the back end of downloading those images and storing them locally and referencing them locally, with the file names are generated differently. So let's go back here and let's look at that filter property, that search prefix. It's optional. But what you can do in here is you can give it like a string, like maybe you've had nested files or whatever. And I uploaded a bunch of images just now that had AA as the first characters in their name. So if we pass in that filter here and then run this, we should just, and we do, we see those three file names that were uploaded. So that's list items. If you are, one of the things I mentioned about why storing files outside your database last week might not be such a great idea is because you can easily orphan files. You could use this list items to generate a list of files that aren't listed in your database, or just get a list of the ones that are. Work with that to figure out how to clean up your buckets if that's something you need to do. But another way to handle that, and it might be a better way to handle that, is to clean up things as you go if you don't need to keep those files around. So delete item is a very useful function to know. Let's go ahead and grab this. So this one's simpler. It takes the connection string to connect and the name of the item you want to delete, and then it tells you whether or not that was successful. So let's go up here and we'll comment out these guys. And let's delete a file. Let's get rid of AA642 menu.png. And then we'll go here with the result. Whoop. Storage connection. File name. And actually, let's just move down here and run this as our secondary so we can verify. Here we go. And we'll just add a check here. Oh, that might not be right. Result fails. Then we'll just show the variable. So if we run this, we should only see this second show var execute because we're going to assume this succeeds on the run. So you can see now we only have those 2 files here, and if we go back into our bucket and we reload it, we'll see that the menu is going to disappear because we've removed it. Another useful function to know about is copy files. If you need to migrate a bunch of files from somewhere, maybe you're migrating from self-hosting a server to Alpha Cloud, and you need a place to host all those files you've been storing on the application server in a self-hosted solution. The copy files function is a great way to get all that stuff off your application server and up into the cloud really, really quickly. And what this is aimed at is copying to S3 or Microsoft Azure, SQL Azure storage services. I believe it can be used for the other ones as well. But it's been optimized so that you don't have to run, I think it's save file. Save file, yeah, saves a file to storage. So it's just it's a much faster way to upload a lot of files over running a save file in a loop because it just makes the call once for you. And down here we have some examples. We could try this real quick. See how that works out for us. So we'll get rid of that. And I'm gonna go into my file system here real quick and set up a little folder in documents. See, let's open this in a new window so you can see it. Here's the folder. And I should have some images in here from when I did some gardening last year, as everyone did. Oh, here's a good one. All right, just to share. I got a bunch of oh, where is the preview pane? This is a bunch of pictures of a bee and an eggplant, which you can see there, eggplant flower. So we will upload this. I'm going to copy this out of here. I'm going to go in here and change this up. So let's file locations. That's the path. Where the files are stored on my workspace here. These are all, I think they're all JPEG files. They are all JPEG files. And I'm gonna, I think I want to get rid of images. Let's go look at that last parameter to see what it is. Ah, that's the number of concurrent tasks. So concurrent tasks refers to the number of files to upload at the same time. I'm just gonna leave the default in there. In fact, I don't need these last 2 parameters at all, because I'm just going to upload them to the root in that bucket and just accept the default concurrent tasks. So if that succeeds, I'm gonna paste in here the code to display the items. I'm gonna get rid of the filter. So we see all the items in our bucket. Then if it failed, we'll just move this guy up here and it'll show us the result false. And just so that I can tell where these things are, I'm going to indent them. And that needs to be storage connection. Oh, hey, that's not going to work. I did. I made a typo in documentation. That never happens. This should be copy files. I'll make a note to fix that later. There we go. What? Still missing one. Oh. There we go. There we go. Look, it uploaded all those files, which I felt like was rather quick. And now anybody with access to this bucket can see all those fantastic photos of a bee and a flower. The last one I want to show here is get item properties, just so you can see what it gives you as a result. So let's go and pull down one of those files that we just uploaded. And I'm going to copy, comment all this stuff out. Oh, that was weird. There we go. Here we go. So get item properties. Makes this call and it gets just a whole bunch of information about your file. It gets the absolute path of how you would access it over the web. It tells you when it was last modified, its name, how large it is. There's call result information in here in case it fails. Whether or not it was a directory. This is this may be useful information if you're trying to emulate somebody browsing like a file directory or something like that. But it's also, you know, helpful to know like, oh, when was it modified, if that's the thing you want to track. So that's what get item properties will get you with S3. With other storage systems, you're going to get other values. I'm not entirely sure if we include different settings here. We've documented some of the basic ones that you're going to get back. Including whether or not we found the item or if we had an error trying to locate the item. And the error is going to be something like, oh, your bucket is unavailable or something like that, insufficient permissions, that kind of thing. So one of the places you may end up using these functions, and this, if you're somebody who wants to store files in a different storage system, like maybe you want to store your files up in Azure, you're going to have to do all your own file uploading and handling for that, because we don't integrate Azure as a option in our JavaScript actions. But one JavaScript action that is probably easy to use with these functions is this file upload user defined. And file upload user defined gives you full control on the upload process. The only thing that Alpha Anywhere does is it takes the file from where you're uploading it from and then uploads it to the application server, where at that point it's up to you to decide where it goes or what happens to it. Alpha Anywhere doesn't keep it. It's just stored temporarily and then goes away eventually, either at the end of the session or possibly at the end of this action being processed. So I'm going to put some information here in the chat for you guys to go look at this. Oh, that's questions. That is not. There's chat. There we go. And also this storage connections page and documentation. This is for the Xbasic. But that action, which you can take a look at here, let's add a new button. All right, primary is good. Go to add new action, file upload, user defined. In here, you're going to want to define an Xbasic function for the after upload event. And this is the thing that handles what happens to your files when they're uploaded. You also have access to some client-side events, some before upload, after upload. Maybe you want to do some cleanup after you've uploaded the files. Maybe there's some you want to navigate to a different page or whatever. You could do that with the after upload action. In the before upload, you could do things like prevent people from even attempting to use this action if they haven't met some criteria. So to define this function, you're going to do after upload. We'll just call it after upload. This can be any name you want. When you type in here, you have these links down here. One of them is called function prototype for server-side event. You click that, you get this window, and it's got a whole bunch of description in it about what is available to you. The file array, if you've uploaded multiple files, they're going to be in here with information about their MIME type and how they're encoded. So if you copy this to the clipboard, click that, and then go over to Xbasic function declarations. Now you can paste it in here. There we go. There's our after upload. Click OK. The other thing you want to take a note here is how that file information is passed to the Xbasic function. You have two choices here. You can do the file name, or you can pass the data. And I recommend file name and working with the file name, because what that will do is the file will be stored temporarily on the server, on the disk. Whereas if you use data, all of your files are loaded into memory. And if you're uploading a lot of files or really large files and the memory on your system is limited, which it is, but if it's like super limited that day, you could run into problems where your server slows down or even run out of memory if you've tried to upload too much. So prefer to work with file name. The major difference between the two is that if you pick data, you're going to have a data variable and the data type, text or binary, in your file array. If you use file name, you're going to get a temporary uploaded file name, which is the name on the server where the file was uploaded. So let's see here. Let's see here. Let's do JPEG. and PNG, 3 favorite file extensions. Let's just do a single file upload here. I don't think I need to configure anything else. I'm going to click OK. Save that, and then I'm going to go over here to Xbasic functions, which is where I pasted that after upload function prototype that was generated for me. When I clicked that link in that dialog, it was actually opening up this interface here. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to upload I'm going to show you how to take this file array and upload that file to S3 using those storage connections. So we're going to use, because we're only uploading one file at a time here, we're going to use not save data, we're going to use save file, because we're going to be given a temporary file name. And this is the function. Let's take that. I like to copy paste things here. I'm just going to work right here. So we're going to get rid of all this stuff here. And we're just going to go through this. I'm going to pick my connection. Oh. Amazon S3, I believe. I'm going to quickly go look at that Xbasic script to verify. All right, that's what we want. And let's back this up a bit here. Let's see. Let's do dim I as n, I equals 1. Eat up. Is it len? Size. Yeah. Next I. Right, so this is a for loop in Xbasic, and we can go take a peek at the documentation real quick. For Xbasic for next. There we go. So what a for loop does is it increments through, in this case, a variable I, which is an integer. It starts with the value 1, and in this example here, it goes to value 10. And there's this optional thing called step. Step defaults to 1, meaning it increments I by 1 every time the loop is executed until I is equal to 10, and then it breaks out of the loop. So we're going to keep step. We're not going to add step in here, and you don't have to say I at the end, but one thing for it's a bit of convenience, and it's actually more helpful when you end up with nested for loops. You can list the variable that's being incremented at the end there. It's not required. It's going to do it anyway because you've specified it up here. But in the case of double nesting, having that down there kind of helps you visually know where you are within your nested for loops if you've got a few. So what we want to do is we want to go through file array. Now we're only going to have one entry in file array because I've configured the upload to only let you pick one file. But in the case of multiple files, it would have one or more entries. And what we want to do here is we want to say our storage value save file, and the file name is this e file array I, which is 1 the first time you go through here, and then temp file uploaded data. And that's the temporary file name where the uploaded data has been stored on the server. As for the rest of the properties in here, item name, you can generate your own. You can use the one that was provided from the file on the server, which is stored in file name. which you can find that information up here. There's some other information like encoding, character set, MIME type. This might be useful if you've decided you want to put this stuff into a database, but we're not going to do that in this example. So this is going to upload. There are a few more options in here, MIME type, result, whatever. The MIME type is going to be, the MIME type can be determined from the file extension if one is provided, which will be provided because the original file name will have it. So we don't need to include that. But if we wanted to, you could pass in this file.content content type, which would contain that file encoding already for you. And then I'm going to check real quick here to see if there's anything else. You can return JavaScript. All right, so we're going to have an e.javascript read defined here. We're going to also add a variable up here. I'm going to call it success. And I'm going to default it to true. We're just going to assume this succeeds unless something goes wrong. So if the result fails, if we get back false, which I believe is what storage, wrong one. Let's see if file returns. Yeah, returns a Boolean, which indicates whether or not it failed. If this returns false, then we want to set success to false. And that's just to indicate to us that our upload didn't work. And then here, returning JavaScript in this case is a special case because all the code that gets executed for the upload happens inside of an iframe. And iframes are sort of like another window in a window. So you have to use this window.parent syntax to specify any JavaScript you want to execute in the parent when you return. So if I wanted to set a value in a control, this is what I'd have to do. We don't need to do that. We just need to display an alert. And we want to display an alert in two cases. So we'll do dim.js.c. So if success, our JS is going to be alert, upload succeeded, else upload failed. And then we'll hand off our JavaScript here. The reason I'm pointing out this window is that if you've got a control like a list or something where you want to store that file upload information after it's been uploaded, then this is how you would set it from this callback, which is doing all the upload saving for you. And then we'll assign the JavaScript here as being returned. Then I'm going to save this. And then we're going to run it, see what happens. So here's our custom file upload. We click that. It's going to give us the select file dialog. In here, we have to pick a file. Let's go look in anything good in downloads. Here we go. Let's upload that one. So we'll pick our banner. We'll click upload. We'll get a 500 error, and we'll go take a look at why that happened. Select the file again. There we go. So I'm not sure why we got that error. It's possible I have to run this in a browser and it doesn't work inside the debugging environment here. So let's step through here and see what happens. E file array sub element not found. Ooh, that's interesting. Let's take a look at file array then. go E, file array. I is 1. Oh, look at that. Did I misspell this? I did misspell it. It's uploaded data, not upload. So let's go fix that real quick. Uploaded data. It says it right there. I just didn't read it. Let's double check file name over here. All right. Custom file upload. Select our file. Grab our banner. Upload it. Let's step through this just to make sure there isn't anything else that I may have accidentally caused. Let's take a look at result. Result is true. We do not have any other entries in file array. And I'll show you here with this e.file array size calculates the size of the array. It's 1, so 1 to 1, done. It's going to exit that. Now it's going to generate our JavaScript for us. It was successful, so we get the uploaded succeeded, set that, run, and there's our alert. And if we go over here and we take one more look at our storage and reload it, all the way in the middle here maybe, there it is. There's the banner that we just uploaded. So that's how you can use those storage functions and that custom upload action to get them into Amazon S3 or whatever storage system you want to use. So that's the end of what I wanted to demonstrate with storage connections. It's a big topic. It's a recent change we made when Alpha Anywhere was released. It's sort of migrating away from storing files on the server and towards storing things in the cloud. So I suppose that with that, I can open it up to any questions people have about storage or really anything else.
Excellent. So we don't have a ton of questions today, actually, but we do have a few. So let's start with a storage question because we themed one first. Someone was saying, could you actually show an example of setting up a storage connection string for local storage?
For on disk?
Yeah, on disk. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's make a new project for that.
Okay.
Oh, good. Let me cancel. I want to save these. Someone's going to ask about this later. In fact, some of you may ask about this later because I just said something. Let's save all that stuff so I can try to remember what I did later. And let's go make a new workspace. Let's close this guy. And the reason I want to make a new workspace is so I don't accidentally expose my connection string stuff. Alrighty. So the question was, how do you set up storage for disk? And so if you go on your web projects control panel, tools, storage connection strings, and here you have your storage connection string builder. If you click new and you give it a name, well, I'm going to call it storage. So it's more generic and build, then you're going to get this screen, and in here you have a bunch of options. And the one I've heard asked about is disk. Eucalyptus is new. I don't know what that is.
I know what eucalyptus is. Eucalyptus.
I do know it's a
replacement for S3.
Oh, okay. So it's just like wasabi. Okay.
Like wasabi. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So disk as a storage provider, this might seem a little confusing. But what you need to put in here is the path on the server to where things are stored. And I'm going to go check documentation on this one real quick because actually, I don't need to do that. I can just scroll to the bottom down here and click on that. Disk. There are a few settings in here that might be important to you. So if you are trying to reference storage on a shared network path and you need a username and password to log in, that's where you would set your username and your password to log in on your network. Otherwise, the only thing you have to put in here is the file location of where your files are stored, which goes in parent path here. So let's use an example. Let's go here to documents and I'll make a new folder. I'll call it storage. And then I will copy this full path here. Test the connection string. It exists. Click OK. OK. So what I've basically created is a connection string that says my storage system is the hard drive of the server where this application is running, and this is the path on that server of where those files are stored. Now, in the development environment, your server is the development server, and your server is your computer. So it's going to be any file path on that computer that you're developing. When you go up to either the application server for IIS or the classic application server or a standalone application server, as some may refer to it, that path has to be a path on that server. And in the case of IIS, you had to have permissions. The Alpha Anywhere has to have permissions to write to that location. So if I click OK here, close, let's make an Xbasic script. Oh, I made an HTML file. I did not want that. Go here, new Xbasic script, and we go here, dim storage con c equals storage. I'm going to go double check to make sure that's what I called it. Here we go. Yep, I called it storage. And then let's go grab one of the files out of, what did I call it? Copy to S3. Now let's grab this one. So we will do that and see, what is this one? Copy that guy. That's our file name. So here, if we do, if I have storage, save file, storage con file, let's just call it flower.jpg and rename it. And then show our result to see if it failed or succeeded, and run this. We get true. So now if we go back into our file system, go back out of here and go peek in storage. That's our file that we've just copied, and you can see it has flower.jpg.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's the setup. There's a bunch of other settings.
The B is missing from the picture. Do you think an error during transit?
No, it's still there. He's right there.
It's still there. Okay.
It's still there. Yeah.
It's just checking.
He's there. Little fuzzy bomb right there.
Cool.
So fuzzy. Anyway, that's how disk works.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Yeah, and since we're on the topic of that, I just want to point out here in your, I think it's publish. Okay, let's make a new profile for now. There we go. We'll just pick that one. Yes, I want to continue. Set storage connection string. So I'm going to close this. If we go into your cloud profile, and you're going to have similar settings in other profiles as well. There's this thing called name storage connection strings. And so this one that I've set up here saves to disk locally on development environment. But when I go to publish this, if I wanted to, I could edit this and build this and point it to anything else. I could point it to Amazon S3. I could point it to Eucalyptus. I could point it to a disk location on my server, and that can be different. So working with that storage connection, I can write it one way in my Xbasic, but it goes to a different place when I publish it. So that's something that you see with both our database connection strings and storage, is the ability to swap that out when you go and publish your app.
Excellent. So we have a couple minutes left, and so I want to get to a question that was asked at the very beginning, and it just had to do with someone who is creating a sending an email using Action JavaScript. So imagine they have a UX, might be a grid, but imagine they have a UX, and in that UX there is an Action JavaScript for send an email, and when you compose the body of the email, you're allowed to merge in fields from your UX. And what they're saying is that's great, except that the field that I've got, in this case, it's a start time field. The format isn't the format that I want to have displayed in the email. So how do I change the format before it makes it into the email? And I've actually run into that situation before. So my answer to that was to create another hidden field. This may not be the best answer, but create another hidden field that when you set the first field, the hidden field actually then is updated to display it in the format that you like. And then you choose that hidden field as the field to use in your email. So that's sort of the short answer to that one. Someone else asked about the DevCon agenda. We're going to have many more details in just about 2 weeks. We have been putting it all together right now, so stay tuned for that. Another question we have here has to do with how do I make sure that a button is a default button? Like, for example, let's say I've got a save button, but I want to allow people to press enter, and when they click press enter on their keyboard, it becomes save. Can you show an example of how to do that?
That's a good question. In 2 minutes, no.
Okay, not in 2 minutes, but we can definitely get to it next time.
I would want to do a little bit of research first, including determining whether or not there is anything in the HTML that you could use, like an attribute that would basically flag it as default. And if there is an attribute for that, then it would be pretty straightforward in a button on a UX like this one, because we have ways to add extra properties to that generated HTML, though I'm not seeing it in here.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that next time.
So yeah, we'll have to investigate that.
Yeah, no problem at all. Well, we are out of time anyway, but thank you very much for sending in questions, everyone. Please send them to guides, GUIDES @alphasoftware.com. We can answer them sooner and also feature them in our webinars. Sarah, thank you very much for presenting today. Really appreciate it. I will not be here next week, but I believe Sarah will be. So we will see you at our next Wednesday webinar. Till then, take care. Stay well. Bye-bye.